There's a wave of new RPGs coming in 2025 and 2026, and many of them feature massive open worlds to dive into. I've put together a list of 20 standout titles, and this isn't a ranked list, just a mix of games that fans of Final Fantasy-style adventures will want to watch for. If I missed one, feel free to drop it in the comments. Now, starting off with the first one on our list is Aion 2. You don't usually see an MMO get a legit second shot, but that's exactly what's happening with Aion 2. After going quiet since its first reveal back in 2018, NCSoft's finally ready to pull back the curtain, starting with a live stream on May 29th. The first Aion made waves with its mix of PvE and PvP, and this follow-up is aiming to bring that same energy, just bigger and better. It's built in Unreal Engine 5, launching first in Korea and Taiwan, with a global release planned for 2026. And yes, the big open zones and flight-based exploration are coming back. Combat's shifting toward a more action-heavy feel this time, ditching the old-school tab-targeting system NCSoft used in games like Lineage and Throne and Liberty. That could land it somewhere closer to Black Desert in terms of gameplay. Expect a familiar blend of quests and large-scale PvP, but modernized with flashy visuals and smoother systems. Monetization sounds similar to Throne and Liberty too. No word yet on whether it's still mobile first, but cross-platform play seems like a safe bet. Moving up next, we have Crimson Desert. You don't often see a big-budget open-world RPG make a serious play for Mac, but Crimson Desert is stepping up. From the creators of Black Desert Online, this one's headed to Apple Silicon alongside PC and consoles, and it's not cutting corners. We're talking full support for hardware-accelerated ray tracing, Metal FX upscaling, and spatial audio on Mac. Apple even showcased it as part of their gaming push. The release is aiming for late 2025, and while that's still a ways off, the tech and ambition on display are hard to ignore. In terms of gameplay, this one's got a lot going on. You're playing as a mercenary, navigating a fractured continent, taking on jobs, leading companions, and getting drawn into larger-scale conflicts. There's a focus on grounded melee combat, open-world exploration, and a cinematic presentation that looks tailor-made for high-end systems. Real-time battles, horseback travel, and RPG-style progression all make it feel like a next-gen showcase. And if the Mac version holds up, that's a big win for platform parity. Up next, we have Kingdom Hearts 4. It's been a long road of waiting for Kingdom Hearts fans, but there's finally a small peek behind the curtain. After being announced back in 2022, Kingdom Hearts 4 is still deep in development, but Square Enix has dropped a fresh batch of screenshots along with a heartfelt message to reassure players it's coming together. The new visuals show Sora mid-combat and offer a few cinematic glimpses, including what might be a playable Mickey, or maybe just a creative camera angle. While there's still no release window, the devs made it clear they're pushing to meet the high bar fans have come to expect. In terms of what to look forward to, this next chapter seems to be leaning even more into fluid action and dramatic combat moments. The shift in visual tone, first seen during its initial reveal, hints at a more grounded world, at least in part, while still keeping the fantasy heart beating strong. Square's decision to cancel the mobile tie-in, Missing Link, might signal they're fully focused on making Kingdom Hearts 4 a centerpiece entry. Whether you're here for the combat, the lore, or just to see what the heck is going on with Donald and Goofy this time, there's a lot riding on this one. Coming up next, we have Soulframe. Digital Extremes made their name with fast-paced sci-fi and Warframe, but Soulframe is heading in a whole new direction. This one's all about slower, more thoughtful fantasy, set in a world tangled up in nature, decay, and the aftermath of industry. You play as an envoy, balancing combat and spiritual duties, and from what we've seen so far, the story is full of strange figures like Lady Diora and mythical beasts like Garen the Stag. There's mystery, there's magic, and it all feels like a quiet rebellion against the speed and style of their previous work. Combat shifts away from the usual chaos and focuses more on precision, timing your dodges, parries, and abilities. You've got 3 core paths to build from: courage, grace, and spirit. And the gameplay mixes melee, magic, and some really creative tools like boomerang blades and memory-tuned songs. Dungeons are procedurally generated, terrain can be manipulated, and the world itself evolves as you play. Soulframe's still early, but the Prelude's alpha is growing steadily, and it's already shaping up to be a bold new take on the MMO formula. Next on the list, we have Lost Soul Aside. It's wild to think that Lost Soul Aside started as a solo dev project back in 2016, and now it's lining up for a full launch in 2025. What began as a passion project quickly caught Sony's eye, landed in the China Hero project, and turned into one of the most talked about action RPGs coming out of China. After nearly a decade of development, it's finally set to hit PS5 and PC next August, riding a wave of high expectations in the wake of games like Black Myth Wukong. At its core, this is a stylish action game through and through. You're playing as Kaiser, slicing through enemies with help from a transforming companion that shifts between weapon types mid-combat. It's got that Devil May Cry energy, but with a bit of Final Fantasy polish, all wrapped in fast, flashy combos and cinematic flair. The production value's gone way up since those early demos, and now it's looking like more than just an indie success. It's a full-on contender that could help redefine what Chinese AAA games can do on the global stage. Moving forward, we have Chrono Odyssey. Every now and then, an MMO shows up that feels familiar on the surface, but quickly starts doing its own thing. And that's kind of where Chrono Odyssey lands. Built by South Korea's Chrono Studio, this fantasy MMO clearly pulls from games like New World, with its dual weapon combat and gathering systems, but it's not just following the formula. Set in a moody, war-torn land called Cetera, you play as a newcomer thrown into a conflict against twisted monsters and corrupt forces. The world's packed with details, from shape-shifting mimics to loot caves, and yes, you can swim. The hook, though, is the combat. It's fast, reactive, and built around timing, dodging, and chaining attacks between different weapon sets. Each class feels distinct. The Berserker's got brutal, blood-fueled swings, while the Sorcerer weaves spells through enchanted gadgets. Then there's the Chronotector system, which lets you rewind or manipulate time mid-fight. Gathering and crafting aren't just padding either. They can impact your gear progression early on. We still don't know how PvP or endgame will shake out, but if the monetization stays fair, Chrono Odyssey could really click with MMO fans. Next up, we have Tides of Annihilation. It's not every day a brand new IP walks into a major showcase and instantly grabs the spotlight, but that's exactly what Tides of Annihilation pulled off during February's State of Play. Set in a twisted, apocalyptic version of London, this single-player action-adventure throws you into a myth-infused world full of horrors, with a story built around recovering shards of the Holy Grail. The whole thing leans into Arthurian legend with a dark twist, and with Tencent backing it and dev talent pulled from games like Yakuza and Assassin's Creed, this one's coming in hot. Gameplay-wise, it's all about fast, flashy combat with a strong Devil May Cry vibe. Think stylish combos, slick movement, and big boss fights. You'll switch between swords, bows, fists, and a still unrevealed fourth weapon as you go up against more than 30 bosses, each with their own unique mechanics. The devs are aiming for a 30-hour runtime, and based on what we've seen so far, that time's going to be packed with brutal encounters and bold design choices. No release date yet, but it's headed to PC and consoles. Moving up next, we have Honor of Kings World. You don't need to be deep into MOBAs to keep an eye on this one. Honor of Kings World is breaking out from Tencent's arena battler roots and turning into a full-scale open-world RPG. And after years of teasing, it's finally locked in for a 2025 launch. Built around the lore-rich world of Primera, the game leans hard into Eastern fantasy, with towering peaks, ancient ruins, and dragon bone landscapes that feel like they're ripped from a myth. The latest trailer gives a solid taste of the world's scale, and it's looking seriously impressive. Combat brings back familiar heroes with a fresh RPG twist, flashy abilities, build customization, and that snappy, responsive feel you'd expect from a studio like Teamy. There's co-op, PvE, and what looks like some PvP baked in too, with support for mobile, PC, and possibly consoles. Crossplay is a big part of the pitch, and if the final product hits the marks it's aiming for, this could easily turn into a global hit. Whether you're here for the action, the setting, or just want to see what Tencent can do in the RPG space, Honor of Kings World is one to watch. Up next, we have the Age of Bhaarat. You don't often see a legendary actor, a best-selling author, and a veteran game producer join forces to launch a game studio. But that's exactly what's behind the Age of Bhaarat. Amitabh Bachchan, Amish Tripathi, and former Ubisoft producer Nuruddin Abood have teamed up for Tara Gaming's first project, and it's being pitched as India's first true AAA action-adventure title for PC and consoles. Set in ancient India, the game follows a forest warden from Anandpur as they confront invading Rakshasa demons and uncover a myth-heavy mystery rooted in Indian folklore. Combat blends traditional weapon play with mystical powers and a grappling system that opens up vertical movement and tactical options. There's also a focus on player customization, giving you room to shape your loadout and abilities to fit your style. The story, penned by Tripathi, explores themes of duty, power, and personal choice, with branching paths that respond to how you play. Co-op support is in the mix too, and with plans to expand the universe into film and other media, the Age of Bhaarat isn't just a game. It's a bold move for Indian storytelling on a global stage. Coming up next, we have Vindictus Defying Fate. Every so often, a game shows up with almost no warning and somehow feels like it already knows exactly what it's doing. Vindictus Defying Fate is one of those. Nexon's taking its MMO legacy and flipping it into a single-player-focused action RPG, and the result leans hard into Souls-like territory with a surprising level of polish. Even in alpha, the visuals pop, the animations feel crisp, and the darker, more grounded tone gives it a fresh identity. Whether or not you played the original Vindictus, this one's aiming to stand tall on its own. The combat puts precision front and center, no stamina meter, but you'll need to master dodge timing, clean combos, and character-specific skills to survive. There's already a varied roster to pick from, and those cinematic finishers land with real impact. Add in tight boss fights, a streamlined progression system, and a story that's already got some hooks, and Defying Fate looks like it's punching above its weight. If Nexon keeps the monetization clean and tightens up the AI and balance, this could end up being one of the genre's sleeper hits. Next on the list, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake. Remaking a classic is one thing. Remaking this classic is something else entirely. But Final Fantasy VII Remake doesn't just play it safe. It takes one of the most iconic stories in gaming and pushes it in new, unexpected directions. Picking up right after the remake, this chapter sends Cloud and the crew out past Midgar into a massive world that mixes familiar locations with new surprises. It balances fan service with bold storytelling and somehow still manages to deepen the characters we thought we already knew. The combat is sharp and stylish, blending action and strategy in a way that lets every party member shine. You're chaining attacks, firing off limit breaks, and syncing up for flashy team moves that keep things moving fast. The world itself is packed with side quests, minigames, and just enough exploration to keep you bouncing between story beats and distractions. Racing chocobos, playing Queen's Blood, or digging into lore, it all feels purposeful. Rebirth isn't just a great remake, it's a confident evolution of a legendary game. Moving forward, we have Project Awakening. You'd be forgiven for thinking Project Awakening disappeared, but Cygames insists it's still coming, and they're finally starting to talk about it again. First revealed all the way back in 2016, this ambitious fantasy action RPG has only popped up a handful of times since, with its last major gameplay drop in 2018. Whether that means a fresh trailer or a big re-reveal at an event like Summer Game Fest, we'll have to wait and see, but it's not dead yet. Built on Cygames' in-house Callista engine, Project Awakening promises large-scale monster hunting in a gritty, medieval-inspired world. Early footage had a lone warrior squaring off against towering beasts in vast, open environments, with a moody atmosphere that felt like Dragon's Dogma crossed with Shadow of the Colossus. After this much time, a PS5 version feels inevitable, and expectations are climbing fast. There's still a ton we don't know, but if Cygames pulls it off, this could be their biggest console leap yet. Next up, we have MIR5. MIR5 isn't just looking to carry on the legacy of the legend of MIR, it's aiming to completely flip the script. Powered by Unreal Engine 5 and developed by We Made Next, this open-world MMORPG is diving into big ideas, from large-scale exploration to a blockchain-driven economy. But the real curveball came during CES 2025, when they unveiled Aion, a next-gen AI boss built using NVIDIA's ACE and NIM tech. This isn't your usual scripted raid enemy. Aion learns from how you fight, adapts in real time, and actively tries to outthink players as the battle unfolds. It's a bold move, but it might pay off. Aion tracks everything from positioning to team roles, switching tactics mid-fight to block shields, pick off healers, or cut off retreat paths. It makes each encounter feel like more than just a pattern to memorize. It's a fight that fights back. That kind of AI, paired with solid MMORPG foundations, puts MIR5 in a pretty unique spot. With a late 2025 launch in sight, this could be the start of something genuinely new in online RPGs, not just more content, but smarter content. Moving up next, we have ArcheAge Chronicles. It's been a rough road for ArcheAge Chronicles, but despite the delays and the exit of longtime creator Jake Song, this spiritual reboot isn't off the table just yet. Kakao Games is steering the ship now, aiming for a 2026 release with a closed beta planned later this year. Unlike its MMO roots, this new entry leans more into action RPG territory, smaller in scope, but still tied to the world that made ArcheAge a standout. And while full details are still under wraps, the devs have been trickling out previews that offer a glimpse at what's to come. So far, it's looking like a refined mix of scenic exploration, mythical beasts, and some fan-favorite callbacks, including a lineup of iconic weapons. There's definitely a high fantasy energy here, with sweeping zones and creature design that walks the line between charming and deadly. Sure, there's still some baggage from the series' monetization history, but this feels like a studio regrouping with intent. If you've got a soft spot for PvP-heavy worlds or just want to see how this next chapter shapes up, ArcheAge Chronicles is worth keeping on the radar. Up next, we have Dragon Quest XII. It's been a long silence since Dragon Quest XII was first revealed back in 2021, and for a while, fans were left wondering if the project was still alive. But recently, series creator Yuji Horii confirmed that development is very much ongoing, and the team, now including Hexadrive and Orca, is pushing forward. Square Enix is promising something that lives up to the legacy of Akira Toriyama and Koichi Sugiyama, both of whom helped shape the heart and soul of this franchise for decades. This next chapter is being described as a major shift, with a darker tone and more mature themes than previous entries. There's talk of meaningful player choices, a redesigned battle system that rethinks the traditional turn-based flow, and a story that pushes Dragon Quest into bold new territory. No release window yet, but next-gen platforms, including the rumored Switch 2, are all in play. And while we wait, there's a little something to tide fans over. The HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is set for 2025. Consider that the warm-up act. DQ12 is the real headliner. Coming up next, we have Project R. Just when it seemed like the Korean MMO space couldn't get any more packed, Project R enters the scene with a bold pitch. Coming from Blue Potion Games, the studio now behind Echo of Soul, this upcoming fantasy MMO looks to blend large-scale battles, branching storylines, and Unreal Engine 5-level visuals into something big. The setup drops you into a collapsing world as a lair, one of the few left standing against a looming force called Mogvaeon, an ancient evil threatening to consume everything. Early glimpses show off a strong focus on player choice, dynamic weather, and a seamless open world that reacts to your actions. Combat leans toward fast-paced action over traditional autoplay, and there's support for both cooperative play and competitive PvP. With its sweeping scale, cinematic flair, and a launch window set for 2025, Project R is clearly aiming to rise above the noise. If they can deliver on that ambition, it might just be the next breakout in a crowded genre. Next on the list, we have The Witcher 4. CD Projekt Red is officially moving ahead with The Witcher 4, And while it's still a few years out, we're finally getting a better sense of where things are headed. This new entry puts Ciri in the spotlight as the main protagonist, set years after the events of Wild Hunt and focusing on her early days as a Witcher. The reveal trailer dropped during the Game Awards 2024, showing her navigating brutal fights and tough moral choices, all in Unreal Engine 5. There's no firm release date yet, but CDPR's financials hint we shouldn't expect it before 2027, with next-gen platforms squarely in focus. This time around, the world is said to be more reactive than ever, with choices shaping not just the story, but Ciri's personality and path. Combat has been rebuilt around her speed and magic, and locations like the coastal city of Valdrest will change based on your actions. CDPR is calling it their most ambitious game to date, with branching narratives, complex relationships, and darker tones leading the charge. Geralt's confirmed to appear in some form, but make no mistake, this is Ciri's saga, and it's just the beginning of a new trilogy for the series. Moving forward, we have Fable. You've probably heard the jokes about chickens and morality sliders, but let's be honest, Fable was always more than that. Now it's finally getting the reboot treatment, and Playground Games, the team behind Forza Horizon of all things, is leading the charge. From the footage we've seen so far, they're nailing that classic Albion feel. There's the fairy tale charm, the dry British wit, and of course, the sword-swinging and spell-slinging that made the original series stand out. The pre-alpha clips give us a look at dense forests, quirky villages, and a showdown with a massive, veggie-obsessed giant. It's silly, it's dramatic, and it totally works. Combat looks punchy and cinematic, mixing magic and melee with the kind of flair you'd expect from a modern fantasy RPG. There's also a hint that the morality system might be making a comeback, because what's Fable without some chaotic decisions and maybe a chicken punt or two? It's slated for 2026, and while we've only had a few trailers so far, the tone is spot on. This isn't just a throwback, it's shaping up to be a proper next-gen revival that remembers what made Fable special in the first place. And finally, we have the Blood of Dawnwalker. You know a game's onto something when the premise alone grabs you, and this one doesn't just grab, it sinks its teeth in. Set in a twisted version of 14th century Carpathian Europe, this dark open-world RPG puts you in the boots of Cohen, a half-human, half-vampire Dawnwalker on a desperate mission to save his sister. You've got 30 days and 30 nights to find a cure, cut through plague-ridden villages, and survive a kingdom on the brink, where ancient vampires run the show and blood taxes aren't just rumors. The setup is heavy, the stakes are high, and the studio behind it includes devs who helped shape The Witcher 3, so you know the storytelling's in good hands. Combat blends gritty swordplay with supernatural mayhem. Cohen can shift into smoke, scale rooftops, and wield vampiric powers to outmaneuver enemies, or straight up remove key figures from the world. Time doesn't pass freely, but every quest comes at a price, so your choices matter more than ever. Powered by Unreal Engine 5, the world of Vale Sangora is as haunting as it is beautiful. And with this just being chapter 1 of a bigger saga, Rebel Wolves might be cooking up something truly special for 2026. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when I upload new content. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And check out these other videos you might like. See you in the next one.